All right, let's dive right into one of the most pivotal moments in all of history by taking a close look at Matthew chapter 28. We're going to go verse by verse through the events of that first resurrection morning. And we're not just going to look at it like some distant story, but really try to see it through the eyes of the people who were actually there, their confusion, their fear, and then that unbelievable world-changing discovery. So before we even crack open verse 1, you have to understand the problem. I mean, it's a huge one. The first characters in our story are walking toward a tomb, but there is an impossible obstacle in their way. We're talking about a massive stone, maybe up to 2 tons. And it's not just heavy, get this. It's officially sealed by the Roman Empire. This isn't just a rock, it is a statement of absolute power and finality. Okay, so let's set the scene with verse 1. The whole story kicks off in those quiet, dark hours just before dawn on Sunday morning. The city is still asleep, and for the people heading to the tomb, the mood is, incredibly somber. They're on a mission of grieving, a final duty. And here they are, our main characters for this part of the story, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary. Now, if you look at the other Gospels, they tell us why they were going. They were planning to anoint Jesus' body with spices, to perform those final rites. In their minds, this is it. They are simply mourners, coming to pay their last respects at a grave. Now, the timing here is actually super important. The Jewish Sabbath, right? It ended at sundown on Saturday. That was the very first moment the women could legally go and buy the spices they needed. But traveling in the pitch dark wasn't really an option, so they had to wait for the first sliver of light on Sunday morning to start their journey. This little timeline just shows you how devoted they were. They went at the absolute earliest moment they possibly could. So as the women are walking, probably worrying about how on earth they're going to move that stone, something happens that is just completely beyond anything humanly possible. The very problem they were stressing about gets solved for them, but not in any way they could have ever dreamed of. Matthew is the only gospel writer who tells us exactly how the stone was moved in verse 2. And it wasn't just quietly rolled away. Oh no, the whole thing was accompanied by a great earthquake. An angel comes down from heaven, rolls the stone back, and then just sits on it. It's not described like a struggle at all. It's a total display of authority, just effortlessly dismissing the laws of physics and the seals of an empire like it was nothing. Now, to really get how big a deal this is, we need to know what kind of stone we're talking about. As you can see here, back in the 1st century, the huge majority of tombs were sealed with these heavy, square plug stones. You just kind of wedge them into place. The big, round, rolling stones we always see in movies, incredibly rare, reserved only for the absolute wealthiest families. And just to put a number on that, archaeologists figure that over 95% of tombs from that time used that simpler plug style. They worked, for sure, but that's not what's being described here. This really shows you just how rare these things were. I mean, only 4 to 6 of these rolling stone tombs have ever been found from this entire period in Jerusalem. The fact that the Gospels say the stone was rolled away actually lines up perfectly with another key detail, that Joseph of Arimathea, who is described as a rich man, was the one who provided this high-status, very expensive tomb for Jesus. So the physical barrier has been supernaturally obliterated, and now the focus shifts from the spectacle at the door of the tomb to the life-altering message that's waiting for the women. And we see that in verses 5 through 7. This is it. This is the moment where everything pivots. The angel first tells them not to be afraid, then he acknowledges why they're there. They're looking for Jesus, the one who was crucified. And then comes the line that changes everything. He is not here, for he is risen. This isn't a suggestion or a hope. It's stated as a fact, an accomplished mission. But the angel doesn't just drop this bombshell and leave. The women who came as mourners are immediately given a brand new identity and a brand new mission. Their entire role in this story is about to change dramatically. And here it is, their new commission, laid out in 4 crystal clear commands. First, fear not. Basically, replace your terror with trust. Next, go quickly. This news is urgent. It can't wait. Then they're told to tell his disciples, making them the very first messengers of the resurrection. And finally, a specific instruction. A reunion is planned in Galilee. And I think verse 8 gives us one of the most real, psychologically true moments in the whole story.
Their reaction isn't simple. It's a total paradox: fear and great joy. It's that trembling, awestruck feeling you get when you encounter something divine, mixed with this unbelievable, overwhelming happiness from the message they just heard.
So the women are running, they're filled with this wild mix of joy and fear, trying to deliver the angel's message, but their experience isn't over, not by a long shot. The confirmation they got from a messenger is about to be confirmed by the source himself. So as they're on their way, verse 9 says that Jesus himself just appears to them. His first word is a simple greeting, and their response is immediate, it's profound. This is clearly not a ghost or some kind of apparition. This is a physical, real encounter. And their reaction has two parts. First, they physically held him by the feet, which confirms he's tangible, he has a real body. And their second action? They worshiped. In that single moment, he's not just their friend or their teacher who came back, he is their Lord. Then, in verse 10, Jesus personally reaffirms what the angel told them. Again, the command is, "Be not afraid." And again, the instruction is to go tell the disciples to meet him in Galilee. Hearing this repeated directly from Jesus himself just hammers home how important that location is. Which, it makes you ask a really interesting question. Jerusalem was the center of everything: religion, politics. It's where the crucifixion and resurrection happened. So why send everyone north to the countryside of Galilee? Well, the most likely reason is pure strategy. Jerusalem was hostile territory for his followers. Trying to get hundreds of them together there would have been incredibly dangerous, politically explosive. Galilee, on the other hand, that was their home turf. It was way safer, and it was the perfect place for that large-scale appearance to over 500 people that the Apostle Paul wrote about later in his letter to the Corinthians. So as we kind of wrap up our look at these specific verses, it is so crucial to understand what resurrection really means in this context. It's not presented as a metaphor or some kind of spiritual idea. The way Matthew 28 tells it, this is a concrete historical event. You have an empty tomb, a supernaturally moved stone, and physical eyewitness encounters with a person who was dead and is now alive. I mean, just think about the journey these women took in a single morning. They started their day walking to a grave to perform one last act of service for a dead man. They ended it running as the first commissioned messengers of a living one. That personal transformation from a grieving follower to an empowered witness, that's the very beginning of a movement that would literally change the entire world.